All right, so we are live, everyone. So good morning. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And we are particularly excited because this month is February. I know you know that, but February for us means that we kick all the men out and we spend the entire month showcasing and celebrating incredible women from across the globe and their expeditions, their adventures, the science. So it's always our biggest month, and we really, really appreciate you guys joining us as we kick it off. So before we dive in with our speaker, we've got 5 classes joining us from across North America. I'm going to give them a chance to do a bit of a shout out before we dive in. And so we've got Miss Aldrich's grade 5s in Morris in Illinois. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, welcome in. We've got Miss Collins, grade 5s in Rhinebeck in New York. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, welcome in. We've got Miss Salazar's grade 9s in Laredo in Texas that are having major tech difficulties, but they're there. Maybe they got it working. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Cool. All right, we've got Miss Gertson's grade 4s in Bueller in Kansas. Hi, guys. He's setting the gold standard for enthusiasm so far. Okay, and last but not least, we've got Mrs. Yanez' grade 1s in San Antonio in Texas. Hi, guys. Holy, there's so many of you. Wow, we need a bigger carpet and a bigger boat. Okay, of course, the reason you guys are all joining us today is for our speaker. So we are joined live in Cambridge, Massachusetts by Lizzie Rosenberger. So she's going to talk today about her expedition to Cambodia, where she was working with softshell turtles, local communities there to preserve and understand one of the most unique and rare groups of animals in the world. We actually did sessions with Lizzie live from Cambodia. So when we're done this, I'll pass along links so you can follow up and learn more. But yeah, Lizzie is an educator. She's a teacher like your guys' teachers in all your classrooms. So yesterday, again, she joined us for a session as a teacher. Today, she's going to highlight a little bit about her own adventure, and we are so thrilled to have her. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us, Lizzie, and take it away.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm so excited to have all of you here with me today. Thank you for joining me. Like Jesse said, I'm also a teacher. I teach 1st and 4th grade science at a school in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So I'm taking a little break from my teaching day to join all of you. So my background is in biology as well as studio art, and then teaching, of course. And I've always been excited about travel and adventure and exploration. And one of my favorite animals are sea turtles and all types of turtles. So I'm going to share with you about our expedition to Cambodia and tell you a little bit about the expedition as a whole, and then also about this really cool turtle that lives in Cambodia. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So let's see. All right, should be shared with you all now. And I'm going to go into presenter mode. Excellent.
You're great.
Perfect. All right. So our expedition was called the Mekong River Expedition. And this was through an organization called the Explorers Club. And we have a group within the Explorers Club of younger explorers who are kind of just venturing out and getting into their exploration careers. And so we have meetings 4 times a year. And this is a picture of one of our meetings that we had. Right here in the middle is Richard Weiss, who is the president of the Explorers Club. And the Explorers Club brings together explorers and scientists from around the world. And so this is a picture of us in one of our meetings. And this is where the idea for our expedition came about. And we had people calling in from California. We had people from Florida. Someone called in from Norway. And we all came up with an idea. And we had to pitch what our ideas we wanted to do on this expedition. So from meeting in our clubhouse, we then went out and talked on technology to see what we wanted to do. But first, I'm going to show you where Cambodia is, just in case we're not 100% sure. We're over here in the US. I know different parts of the US where we're all from today. And then all the way over here where this pink star is Cambodia. So it was a really long flight, about 14 hours to get there, stopping in China along the way. And once we got there, this is what it looked like. We stayed in a hotel in Phnom Penh, one of the first cities, and this is us on our roof preparing for our expedition. With us, we have this here is Jeremy in the red shirt, and he was joining us from Maine, and he was in charge of doing some wilderness first aid as well as social media. Alec in the blue shirt was our expedition artist coming to us from California. We have Leon in this black shirt who is also from California, and he was doing water quality testing. This here is Lee, and Lee was joining us from Louisiana, and she works on documentaries, and she was exploring tourism in Cambodia. This in the green shirt is Garrett, and Garrett was our expedition leader and also in charge of teaching some wilderness first aid. Down on the bottom here, this is Sydney, who is from upstate New York, and she was our water safety officer. So she kept us all safe while we were out paddling down a river, which I need to tell you about. This here is Rebecca, and Rebecca was working on water quality and looking for microplastics, and she's from Florida. And then this is Brianna, who is from New York, and she was doing education and outreach. As Jesse mentioned, we connected with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants twice on the expedition. And then this is me, and now I live in Boston area, Cambridge, Massachusetts, but before I was in New York when I went on the expedition, and I was looking for some turtles. So this is some ways that we were able to get around Cambodia. Our whole expedition, we were pack rafting down the Mekong River. But before we even got to the river, we had to get around and pick up some supplies for our expedition. So these two pictures on the left, these are what is called a tuk-tuk. And so it's a motorcycle with a kind of a carriage attached to the back of it. And this one can hold about 4 people. It has no doors, so you just kind of hold on and go along for the ride and get lots of air coming in on you. There's also, this is a picture, a few other pictures of how we were able to travel around. We actually got into the back of this truck in the middle picture, and on the right is the truck, us in the truck. People also bike, they go on motorbikes. There's cows often in the roads. And then on the Mekong River, there are these really long, skinny boats that people drive around in. So before we could even get on the river, we also had to get some food. We couldn't bring all of our food with us from the States. So we went to the markets, and in the markets, they just put out mats on the ground, and then they display all of the fruit and vegetables and meat that they have. So we picked up some cucumbers, there's some eggplant, some different types of lettuce. Here are some fish. And then we also, over here, this is Yak, who is our in-country expedition leader, and he is going through all the different bags of rice. And we sometimes had long grain rice and sometimes short grain rice. So these are some pictures of just the market picking up our foods. And this is where we started to give you an idea of Cambodia. Cambodia is bordered by Vietnam on this side and Laos up here and Thailand on this side. And so we started down here in Phnom Penh when there's an airplane. And then we took this purple route up in a car and drove all the way to the top of Cambodia to the border of Laos. And I'll show you in the next picture what we saw at the border. It was pretty cool. And that's where we got onto the river and into our pack rafts. And then we rafted all the way down this red part and took out our pack rafts at the bottom. And then we drove all the way over to the other side. We stopped by some floating villages on a lake in Tonle Sap. And then we ended up in Siem Reap. And we ended there because there is one of the 7 wonders of the world called Angkor Wat that is there. So we wanted to check that out as well. So this is the very first spot that we were at on the river. This is right at the border, and it's just a really big, beautiful waterfall. And this is our whole expedition team. We look pretty clean at this point. You'll see towards the end how we don't quite stay so clean. And this is the pack raft. So I'm going to hopefully, fingers crossed, the video plays. This is a time lapse of what the pack rafts look like and how you get them blown up. A pack raft is essentially a balloon that is in a raft. So we blow it up, we take these brightly colored bags and we get air into them, and then you squeeze all the air down. And then once all the air is squeezed down through that super colorful bag, it goes into the raft. Once you get all of it up and you think you're done, you're not quite done. You then have to take a little tube that you blow into right there, like Alec is doing, and then that gets it completely, perfectly filled. And then you roll up the front little piece so you can sit inside it. And then we had to test them out before we embarked down the river. And that is us testing our pack rafts on the river. So these are, we'll see if these videos play as well. These are just some images of what it looks like when we are actually going down the river. You'll see some of the trees here look like they're tilted a little bit, and that's because the water is flowing down the river and pushing the trees over a little bit. This is the dry season when we were there, so there wasn't that much rain and the water was a little bit lower, so you can see all the trees. But in the wet season, it actually is covered completely, those trees. And then this is what it looks like from behind us, kind of nice and leisurely kayaking down the river. Once we got to our campsite each day, we of course had to eat some food. So this on the right is a picture of our kitchen. It's a really small kitchen over here. And then we also ate snacks along the river. So you can see a picture of Sydney, who is eating a dragon fruit as she is paddling down the river. And then this big picture is just what we looked like when we would eat our breakfast and our lunch on the side of a riverbank in our camp. And there is one meal that I loved and I would love to share with you. So do you see what's in this picture here? There's something that's really small and it's a little bit red and it's on the leaves. These are ants. And with these ants, they actually make a delicious meal. So this, we'll see if this plays. Yep, this is Yak, who is cooking our meal. He's taking an ant nest off of the tree. He's smacking the ant nest, and he's also getting some of the ants that are on him. He's picking them off because they also bite, so he's trying to get them before they bite him. And so he smacks those leaves, and then he puts them into a big pot of soup. So he strips them off of the leaves here into the soup and then has our deliciously prepared meal. These ants actually add a lot of flavor. They taste like lemon and lime, which is pretty delicious and not what you would think. But that was one of the fun meals that we had on our expedition. And you also have to drink water while out kayaking and out in the sun all day. So we had these special water bottles where in this bottom part here, you can take water right from the river. And then this top part that Rebecca is showing us right here, the orange piece is a filter, and you push the filter down and it cleans the water for you so it's safe for you to drink. And this is a picture of what our campsites looked like. So we had our tents. We got wet while kayaking down a river all day. So we would dry our clothes over our tents or sometimes on our pack rafts. And so we didn't have to inflate our pack rafts every single day. We ended up putting some of our water bottles in them to weight them down overnight so that they wouldn't blow away, because they're kind of like balloons and are pretty light. But it was really pretty to wake up and see just a beautiful river in the morning. And this is just a view of what my viewpoint from when I was pack rafting. I had all of my gear in this big red bag. I had some water bottles with me, some hand sanitizer for when you have snacks along the river. And then that big computer looking thing on my arm is a GPS. And that was tracking how far we went, how much time we spent moving, and our speed along the river. So for the science part, we each had an objective that we were responsible for. So this one is Leon and Rebecca, and they're doing some sampling for water quality. This was part of a citizen science project as well. So they collected the samples there and tested for the different pH levels, the dissolved oxygen, salinity, and turbidity. And then in the middle picture here, Leon is leaning over a boat and he's scooping up some water. We collected 7 samples to bring back to the University of Florida to test to see if there were any microplastics in the water. No one has ever tested to see about microplastics on the Mekong River. So this was the first time it was done, which is pretty exciting. And microplastics are just teeny tiny little pieces of plastic in the water that you can't usually see with your eyes. We also had Brianna, who was doing the education outreach. So she was working with Reach the World, another organization that brings explorers and travelers into the classrooms. And so she was writing blogs and sharing pictures along the way. And then this picture on the right that's really dark, that is us at about 4 in the morning in Cambodia, connecting with students on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants for one of our video conferences. So it looks super dark, but on the other side of this phone are classrooms from across North America, which was pretty special. And Jesse can send you the link to that after. We also taught first aid in the villages. So we spend about 3 days in one village along the river. And in this village, it takes them about a day to get to a hospital if they get hurt. So Garrett and Jeremy were teaching them just some basic first aid skills so that if they had any types of emergencies, they could take care of themselves before getting to the hospital. And this is what the inside of a classroom there looks like. We taught it in their school. They have a one-room schoolhouse. So you can see lots of color and big windows. And then we also had our expedition artist, Alec, and he, anywhere we went when we weren't paddling, he had his sketchbook out and was drawing different pictures and sketching what we saw. And Lee was doing the interview. So this is her interviewing a couple of different people about tourism and how tourism has been affecting Cambodians. And then my favorite part, personally, is the Asian giant softshell turtle. So this is, I think, an adorable turtle. Some of my expedition teammates didn't quite agree with me, but this turtle is about 2 meters big. It is huge. It's really, really big. Here are some pictures of the eggs in a nest, and then one of the baby turtles, and then this is one of the big ones. This turtle is really unique because they thought that it was extinct in the wild until 2007 when they rediscovered it on the shores of the Mekong River. So what we were doing was working with the Wildlife Conservation Society, who has scientists in Cambodia working on this turtle, and we were helping them look for nesting sites on the part of the river that they have not yet explored. So this was me. I had pictures of the turtle with me laminated, and I would, whenever we stopped along the river and saw people, I would hold up the picture and say, have you seen this turtle? And if they said yes, I would ask more questions, asking, when did you last see it? Where did you see it? How many did you see? To kind of get some information from them about if the turtle is around or not. Unfortunately, most of the people told us they had not seen the turtle, or if they had not seen it in a really long time. We also were looking on the banks of the river to see for signs of the turtle, and if we thought we saw a nesting site, we would get out and investigate it further. This is a video also in the village where we handed out books. They're kind of journals, and these journals have information about the turtles in Khmer, which is the language they speak in Cambodia. And so provides information about their habitats, what they like to eat, where you can find them, their life cycles. And it's a reminder to people that they can try and help conserve and protect the turtles. And the village here said they used to see them in front of their place all the time, but it's been about 10 years since they have seen any at all. And when they used to see them, they would keep the turtles and use them for food. This is, I think, a very exciting picture. If you can see in this picture on the beach, you might be able to see there's a line going up right in the middle and kind of what look like footprints along the side of it. Those are actually flipper prints. And so this is evidence of one of the turtles coming up out of the river and exploring the beach. We went out with the Wildlife Conservation Society scientist and ranger to look for some of these sites. And this one, what they have to do when they find evidence of the turtles on the beach is they cover up the sand. So they make note of it, they record it, and then they hide it. And they hide it because there's fishermen that are out there that also are looking for the turtle so that they can have some food. So the picture on the right is the ranger covering up the tracks so that no one else will know it's there. He also took us to one place where if they do find any of the turtle eggs, they'll actually take the eggs from that one site and they will move them to a safer location. So this is a nest that he knows about, and he has moved these eggs to this safe location. So he's digging in the sand where he thinks the nest is, and he's going to show us a little bit of the eggs. He's using a stick to kind of poke down into the sand to see if there's air pockets. And if there's air pockets, then he knows that he's kind of in the right spot to look for the eggs. So it was really cool to see him kind of poke around in there and uncover the eggs. In a turtle nest like this, there are about 35 eggs that can be held in just one nest alone. And with these rangers, since there's not very many of these turtles at all, and there's still so much more research to be done about them, once these eggs hatch, they'll actually take them to a certain area and help the turtles grow a little bit to be a little bit bigger before they release them back into the wild. So I'm just going to go a little bit further in our video so you can see where the turtles actually are in here. Let me see if I can get us there, or the eggs. So you can see right there is a tiny little speck of white, and those are the turtle eggs. So the next picture, in this one, we also got to go to the Mekong Turtle Conservation Center, which is an education center. And here they have a few hatchlings for us to see. If you look at the screen right now, you might just see some sand. That's all that we saw when we got there. But then when you poke your finger in, there is a tiny little hatchling that comes out. And that is the size of what the turtle hatchlings are. This one was about 5 months old. So still pretty old, but pretty small. And then we'll see as he puts the turtle back into the sand, watch what happens immediately. Poof, you can't see it at all. They are the best camouflagers I've ever seen. And they do spend about 95% of their life under the sand, which makes them hard to find. All right, so this was our Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants live from the Conservation Center. We broadcasted again in the middle of the night because Cambodia is on a different time zone, about 12 hours apart. And this was us inside of a temple complex inside of the Conservation Center, showing people around the Conservation Center. So you can also take a look. Jesse can send that link out as well. And we have with us the 2 Wildlife Conservation Society scientists answering questions. And then our expedition, we ended in Siem Reap, like I mentioned before. And this is a picture of Angkor Wat, one of the 7 wonders of the world, right at sunrise as the sun is peeking up over. And then on the right-hand side is another temple that we visited. And I just love this temple so much for a couple of reasons. One, there's a massive tree growing out of it. And what's cool about this is also one of the temples that they've used to film in an Indiana Jones movie. And then lastly, when we came back to the States, our journey ended. We shared about our expedition back at the Explorers Club. So this is us kind of all dressed up, sharing about our expedition with other Explorers Club members back at the clubhouse in New York. And this is a video, we'll skip this video, we can do it at the end. It's just a very, very quick, about a 2-minute video of an overall of the expedition. But this is our final picture at the end of the expedition when we took out of the water. And you can see where we maybe look a little bit more, less clean, a little bit dirtier than before, but all still very, very happy. So I will go ahead and see if anyone has any questions. I'll go off my screen share.
And there you are. Well, thank you so much, Lizzie. What a fantastic.
I'm back on my screen share. Okay.
One of those screen share buttons. So yeah, we're going to dive in with questions, guys. You got a couple groups watching on YouTube as well. So if you guys want to let me know where you're joining from, type in questions in the chat bar. I'll pass along as many as I can. But let's start by going to Ms. Aldrich's class. If you guys want to kick us off, go right ahead.
Go ahead, Julie.
What is the scientific name of the soft-shell turtle?
That is a great question. Here it is. I'll bring it really up close. Do you want to try and pronounce it?
Colix Cambodia.
That's great. Yeah. And you can also see down here is what it looks like in Khmer. So the Khmer language looks a little different, doesn't it?
Very cool. Great question to kick us off, guys. All right, let's head to Miss Collins' class. If you guys want to come up, go for it. Take your time. Don't be shy.
Yep, right there.
What do the Asian soft turtles eat?
So they eat the fish that are in the water. So there's some fish that they can eat. That's probably their main source of food is the fish. There are a few plants in there as well, but mostly fish.
How do they catch the fish? They don't look very speedy.
They're not super speedy, but turtles are faster than one predicts. So they kind of just hang out, and as a fish goes by, they might grab it a little bit and try and snap it up. And sometimes the fish that they eat are not like the ones that I showed you in the market. The market fish are really, really big. The fish that the turtles eat are a lot smaller.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Miss Salazar's class, if you guys got everything working, come on up. Hey.
What got you into soft-shelled turtles?
That's a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, I love turtles. When I was in high school, I did some research on the migration patterns and foraging techniques, so eating techniques of green sea turtles in Mexico. And that's kind of where I fell in love with turtles. And then I was working at one of the zoos that the Wildlife Conservation Society works with, the Central Park Zoo in New York City. And when this expedition to Cambodia came up, I thought, what does the Wildlife Conservation Society study in Cambodia, and what can I help with to contribute to some of their research? And I found that they work with the Asian giant softshell turtle. And then I did a little bit of research on it, and it turns out there's still not a lot known about the turtle because they thought it was extinct for so long. And so I just emailed them and said, I would love to be involved and learn more about this and see if I can share some of what you guys are finding with students as well. And they said, excellent. And I think it's an adorable turtle. So I really loved it.
I want to see, by show of hands in the class, who thinks it's adorable? We have people who think it's adorable. Many in the grade ones. Okay. Does anyone think it's kind of goofy? No? A few people. Okay. It's both at the same time. It's a great turtle. Let's go to Miss Gertson's class. If you guys have a question, come on up. Yeah, you should be good to go. If you just asked it, then your mic is off. Yeah, it's not working. But let's see. Try now. There we go.
Okay, there you go. Okay, say it again really loudly.
What's the most interesting thing you've seen at work?
Yeah.
Oh, the most interesting thing I've seen at work? That is a great question too. Are you talking about my work as a teacher or my work when I was at the zoo or on the expedition? Because I have an answer for all.
On the expedition.
Aha. There's this dolphin that is also in Cambodia that's called the Irrawaddy dolphin. And I think there's only about 300 of them left in the whole world. And we took one day where we went and to see if we could find any. We tried it twice. We actually took 2 days. One day there was a part of the river where we were maybe going to see them. And so I got up on a rock and used my binoculars and scanned the river and sadly didn't see anything. And then a second spot we went to, we got out on a little boat and we saw these dolphins and we saw them coming up out. You just see a tiny little bit of their tail, but I think their fin, excuse me. But for me, I think that was one of the most interesting things that I saw, was to be able to see one of these dolphins swimming in the wild that there really aren't that many of. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty special and interesting.
That is pretty special. Fantastic. All right, let's head to the giant Miss Yanez's classroom. If you guys have a question, come on up.
Where are the turtles predators?
What eats the turtles? Yeah.
Oh, great question. Honestly, the thing that eats the turtles the most is humans. So there are fishermen that take them and they can get some of the meat from them. They also like to have the eggs and use the eggs as food as well. So unfortunately, that's the thing that eats them the most.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's why you cover it up, right? That's why all that work's done by rangers to make sure that people don't find them.
Yeah, exactly.
Conservation takes a lot of different forms in a lot of different places. All right, I want to stress again, we got some YouTube groups. If you guys want to type in questions, please do. Don't be shy. But let's go back to Ms. Aldridge's class. You guys don't need to type in questions. We're going to come right back to you. So Ms. Aldridge's group, come on up.
How thick can a soft-shell turtle get?
Great question. So the little babies that we held, they're really, really quite thin. So you could probably see a little bit of its spine in the picture. And when you feel it, you can feel the spine, and then it feels really quite soft around the outside of the shell. As you move in, I'm not 100% sure how thick it gets when they're adults. We didn't see any adults while we were out there. They have one in the education center, but it spends most of its time at the bottom of one of the tanks, and they don't wake it up or disturb it. They just let it do its thing. So I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to guess, I would guess maybe like about that thick, maybe an inch or so would be my guess.
For an adult one that are 2 meters long, like they're that thin? Wow.
Yeah, they're pretty thin.
Huh.
Since it's a soft shell, a lot of turtles have the hard carapaces, the hard shells, but because it's a soft shell, it doesn't get quite as hard as most turtles that we're used to thinking about.
How neat is that? All right, Miss Collins' group, if you guys have another one, come on up.
How many total turtles did you save?
Great question. We didn't actually save any of them individually. So we didn't find any nests along the upper part of the river. We did talk to some villagers that said that there was one spot that we stopped, and they said that they had seen them recently. And so we took note of that to tell the Wildlife Conservation Society scientists to go back and check in with that village to see if they could find more nesting sites, or to go back and talk to the villagers some more up there. And then the ones that we saw the eggs of in that video, though, that was probably about 30, and they had about 10, I believe 10 nesting sites that were active that they were monitoring. So if you do some math, about 30 times 10 is about 300 turtles that they were hoping to have hatched last year. And one of the key parts of conservation is awareness as well. So just by talking with different people in the villages and making them aware of the turtles and why it's important to protect them is a really key piece, and that kind of helps to protect and save them as well. With the village that we spent 3 days in, and they said that they used to, when they had the turtles 10 years ago and they used to eat them, they said that if they saw a turtle now, they wouldn't eat it. They would keep it and try and get more turtles and more turtles and more turtles, so that then eventually, if they wanted to use it as a food source again, they would have a population that was big enough, instead of just eating the first one that they saw and then having no more. So that was a step in the right direction.
I'm really happy you brought that up. And this is something that we see in all our conservation lessons now, where people talk about the importance of local conservation. If people in the community that are with the animals or the plants or whatever don't value it in and of itself, it'll never survive. It can't be something where we say, oh, this is important, you have to protect it. It's got to be where the local community thinks that it's so important like that, even if it's just for eating them. That's a huge piece. So I'm glad that message got brought in. Ms. Salazar's group, and before I take your question, I just want to say it's so nice having such an engaged and enthused high school class. So you guys are awesome. But if you have a second question, come on back up. And your video's on. I don't know what's happening. Can you still hear and see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Your video's off, but that's okay. We can hear you, so we're good.
Okay, Jacob.
What is the average lifespan of the turtles?
So they can live a really long time. Most turtles are about 100 years or so. With these turtles, they're not 100% sure exactly what it is. There's so much with these turtles that is still unknown because for so long they were thought to be extinct, and they've just rediscovered them and are just trying to find them. But the one that is the adult in the education center that they had, I believe they said was about 45 or 50 years old.
Fantastic. And I think it's nice that, whenever we can highlight the science is an ever evolving process and there's a lot more to learn. So for kids that want to be scientists, you guys want to find out the age of the turtle, you guys want to go to space, you guys want to do any number of things. There's way more stuff to do than there's ever been. It's so exciting. All right, Ms. Gertson's class, come on back up.
What can we do to help the soft-shell turtles?
Perfect.
Great question. These are questions. I would say that for this turtle, one of the biggest things you can do is learn about it. Learn what you can learn about it. There's not a lot out there yet. Still, we're still learning so much more. So you can learn about it as well. You can raise awareness. One thing with a lot of the animals that live in water is thinking about the quality of the water. So somewhere like Cambodia and the Mekong River, a lot of people live along this river. And so thinking about how people use the river and what goes into the river for the quality of the water, that makes a difference. But one thing that you can do here, because it affects everywhere around the world, is you may have heard it before, but recycling is definitely helpful. And then also thinking about our use of plastics. So plastics is a big topic that's been coming up recently, but we did see a lot of plastic along the Mekong River, and some of that plastic comes in from different places. It comes in from the shores of the Mekong, but also when you think about the oceans, and the oceans are one big circle that goes around and around with all the currents, and it can carry things to different places. So some of those plastics can actually come in from the ocean as well, because right at the bottom of Cambodia is where the Mekong River goes out into the ocean. So that's another piece, kind of being aware of your plastic use and using reusable water bottles as much as possible instead of getting a brand new plastic water bottle every time is a great one. And then I would say, ask questions. And if you want to become a scientist or an explorer, when you go and get excited about something, getting to know the local communities and asking them questions about what is in their community and what they're doing to help save it and protect it is a great way to get involved as well.
Amazing. That would have been a great question to wrap us up off, but we've got to go back to Miss Yanez's class. If you guys have another question before we end off, come on up.
Turtle's habitat look like?
What does their habitat look like?
Oh, great question. So it is a lot of sand. So they live right in the river. So there's the big river that goes down the middle, and then on the sides is the sand. So they'll come up out onto the sand and then they'll bury themselves, or they just go underneath the water and bury themselves in the sand underneath the water. They spend 95% of their day underwater or under the sand. So it's a lot of swimming around and just hanging out under sand.
Yeah, outstanding. All right. Lizzie, you'd already mentioned a few places where we can learn more, and we're going to pass along those links to your past sessions to all our classes when we're done. Is there a place kids can learn more about the Explorers Club, about some of the work that you're doing, anything you want to guide them to?
Sure. The Explorers Club, they have a website as well, and it is just explorers.org. And on that website, you can tune in from home on Facebook Live. They have different lectures that they do on Monday nights of different explorers and scientists from around the world as well. So that could be something fun that you could do with your family members at home. And I think they have some that are recorded as well. And yeah, I would say just cluing in with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants does great presentations as well. And anything that piques your interest, just start off by asking questions and going to research it a little bit more. There's also the Mekong Turtle Conservation Center has a website as well that I can send to Jesse to send out with you all as well, so you can see what they're up to. It might be in Khmer, so you might have to use Google Translate or find someone who knows Khmer to help you read what it says. But those are always great places to start. And once you have something that excites you, follow it.
Amazing. All right. Well, Lizzie, you know, at the end of every session, what we do is I'm going to demute every class's microphone. And so boys and girls in all our classes, if you guys could get ready to join me in saying a huge thank you. You are all now demuted. Go for it. Thank you so much. The best part of that to me was that there was the one class of grade 9s that were like 8 octaves lower than all the others. So thank you for that. That was amazing. All right. Thanks, guys, so much for joining. That was an awesome presentation. We will check out for those links later to learn more about Cambodia, Softshell turtles, Explorers Club, and more. And Lizzie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And great questions from all of you. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. And bye for now, guys.